diversity. So bacteria and archaea, this subsection of this diversity section. And then for further information, you go to bacteria, archaea, and microbiology, individual articles. Or I continue further. So bacteria are a type of cell that constitute a large domain of prokaryotic or single-celled, or cells without a nucleus, so non-nucleated cells, prokaryotic microorganisms. Typically a few micrometers in length, so that's a thousandth of a meter. Bacteria have a number of shapes ranging from spheres to rods and spirals. Bacteria were among the first life forms to appear on Earth and are present in most of its inhabitants, most of its habitats. Bacteria inhabit soil, water, acidic hot springs, radioactive waste, and the deep biosphere of the Earth's crust. Yeah, so MES note, a hot spring or a hydrothermal spring or geothermal spring is a spring produced by the emergence of geothermally heated groundwater onto the surface of the ground. The groundwater is heated either by shallow bodies of magma, which are molten rock, or by circulation through faults to hot rock deep in the Earth's crust. In either case, the ultimate source of the heat is radioactive decay of naturally occurring radioactive elements in the Earth's mantle. The layer beneath, which is the layer beneath the crust. Yeah, so basically you have radioactive decay of radioactive elements, or pretty much big heavy metals, and then you get a bunch of energy and a bunch of heat, and you get the rock melted, and it shoots through faults, and they can heat up surrounding water. So hot spring water often contains large amounts of dissolved minerals. The chemistry of hot springs ranges from acid sulfate, which is SO4 2-, springs with a pH as low as 0.8, to alkaline chloride containing chlorine, which is Cl, springs saturated with silica, which is an oxide containing O of silicon, containing oxygen. It's basically an oxide of silicon, so which is Si. To bicarbonate springs saturated with carbon dioxide and carbonate minerals. And here's the inner structure of Earth. So you have Earth drawn to scale. All right. So what you have is there's the ice cap, the poles. I believe that's the North Pole. And there's the ocean continent over there. There's crust. Is this right here? Is a super thin. So it's drawn to scale. So the crust looks like it's absolutely tiny compared to the other layers. And then there's that's the continental crust, granitic. Oceanic crust, basaltic. This granitic, and it's basaltic. Oh, I think that's how you pronounce it. These are types of rocks. We'll get to those in a bit, and it's a difference basically in their formation and how they're formed and so on. So that's continental crust, and there's the oceanic crust. In other words, for the oceans, and this is for the continents. And there's the let's see the other setup here. So this is the asthenosphere, and then there's a rigid mantle there. We'll get over some of these terms in a bit. And then you have the stiffer mantle, and there's the outer core liquid, and the inner core is solid, which is interesting. You have the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, and so on. So basalt, or let's just pronounce this.
Basalt is an aphanitic, very fine.
Let's try that again.
Is an
Okay, so go click here, basalt.
Basalt is an.
Alright, so basalt is in this one, aphanitic. Let's try that again.
Aphanitic, very fine.
Alright, so it keeps skipping it. Let's just try this other setup here. Search here, see maybe this one might be better. Okay, it doesn't have that. So anyway, so aphanitic. So basalt is an aphanitic or very fine-grained extrusive. Extrusive, we'll erase this right here. I have it written here. So it's a very fine or aphanitic, fine-grained, extrusive igneous rock formed from the rapid cooling of low-viscosity lava, rich in magnesium and iron, exposed at or very near the surface of a rocky planet or moon. Right here, the extrusive, let's just try the pronunciation here, and play.
Extrusive.
Yeah, so extrusive rock refers to the mode of igneous volcanic rock formation in which hot magma from inside the Earth flows out or extrudes extrudes onto the surface as lava or explodes violently into the atmosphere to fall back down as pyroclastics, which is ejected rock that rises down, or tuff, which is ejected ash that falls down. Let's just see the pronunciation of this one. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press this super slowly. Well, I made this slow reading speed. Let's see if this is easier to follow.
Pyroclastics.
Alright, so pyroclastics, and then ejected rock or tuff. In contrast, intrusive rock refers to rocks formed by magma which cools below the surface. The main effect of extrusion is that magma can cool much more quickly in the open air or under seawater, and there's little time for growth of crystals. Sometimes a residual portion of the matrix fails to crystallize at all, instead becoming a natural glass or obsidian. And here I just skipped all the way back here. So glass, remember, just refresher, is a non-crystalline or amorphous, often transparent solid that has widespread practical, technological, and decorative use in, for example, window panes, tableware, and optics. Basically does not have a crystalline structure. And this obsidian is just a naturally occurring volcanic glass, so just type of glass. Going further, so igneous rock, let's see if we're pronouncing it correctly. Click here.
Igneous rock.
Yeah, so igneous rock, derived from the Latin word ignis, meaning fire, or magmatic rock, is formed through the cooling and solidification of magma or lava. Yeah, and then basically the rates of it, you'll get the basaltic or the granitic rocks. So granite is a coarse-grained or phaneretic, intrusive igneous rock. So it's intrusive, it's cooled underneath. And it is, still an igneous, so it's igneous rock. It's formed from magmatic rock, or it's cooling and solidification of magma or lava. Composed mostly of high silicon containing minerals, such as quartz, alkali feldspar, and plagioclase. Let's see how this is pronounced. Plagioclase. Alright, interesting. And here's just an illustration of them, and you could spot right off the bat. This one is coarse grain. You can see actually the grains. This one's very fine grain. It's very small. You can't really see the individual grains. Yeah, so then this one would be the basaltic, and the basalt, and this one is the granite. So figure here, this one is from lakeheadca.com. So intrusive igneous rock granite here on the left cools slowly within the earth. That's left. And extrusive igneous rock, quote, basalt, erupted from volcanoes. Just from volcanoes. This is a typo that I did. So erupted. Where's that? Basalt erupted. Is this a space? Yeah, space. Alright, so continue further. So the asthenosphere, let's see how this is pronounced.
Asthenosphere. Ancient Greek.
Yeah, so asthenosphere. This one is over here. Pointing over here just below the rigid mantle. So the asthenosphere, ancient Greek, right here, asthenos meaning without strength and thus, quote, weak. And right here, spharia. See, this is.
Sphere meaning.
Yeah, sphere. Okay. Meaning sphere is the highly viscous, very thick and sticky, mechanically weak and ductile or deformable without fracturing region of the upper mantle of Earth. Yeah, so it's very, it's very viscous and ductile. You can bend it and so on without fracturing. So Earth's mantle is a layer of silicate rock, which containing silicon, Si, and oxygen, between the crust and outer core. That's between the crust and outer core. So there's the crust right here. Is the crust, and then this is between the core and the it's between the crust and outer core. So where's the outer core? Outer core is right here, and there's the mantle, and there's different regions of this mantle, and below the crust. Continue further. All right. The next stuff is the hydrosphere, from Greek right here, water, and sphere, and this is spherosphere. Is the combined mass of water found on, under, and above the surface of a planet. And an atmosphere, Greek atmos, and a sphere or sphere of vapor is a layer of gas or layers of gas that envelope a planet. Alright, continue further. Here's an illustration of the of a hot spring right here. Notice notice that you have a bunch of boiling water there. And yeah, it's a very interesting setup. So Grand Prismatic Spring and Midway Geyser Basin in Yellowstone National Parks in the US. Make this a bit smaller. Yeah, that's pretty epic stuff there. Alright, so now let's look at radioactive decay. Because remember, all the heat's ultimately coming from radioactive decay of radioactive elements right here. And that is right here. So in either case, the ultimate source of these hot springs or the heat of the molten rock is radioactive decay of naturally occurring radioactive elements in the Earth's mantle and the layer beneath the crust. So yes, very, very fascinating. So radioactive decay, also known as nuclear decay, radioactivity, radioactive disintegration, or nuclear disintegration, is the process by which an unstable atomic nucleus loses energy by radiation of particles and photons. And radioactive waste is a type of hazardous waste that contains radioactive material. So in the biosphere right here, the biosphere from Greek bios, meaning life, and this one here, this sphere is also known as the ecosphere, for Greek, this one right here, meaning environment, and this other word, is the worldwide sum of all ecosystems. Yeah, and the reason I'm going over the biosphere, I just realized because it's been quite a while getting past all these side notes. So, bacteria inhabit soil, water, acidic hot springs, radioactive waste, and the deep sea, or the deep biosphere of the Earth's crust. So, biosphere is pretty much all the life, and then the deep biosphere is a part of the biosphere that resides below the first few meters of the surface. So, it's a deep biosphere. Very fascinating. And this is it's basically also known as a ecosphere, is a worldwide sum of all ecosystems, all the life and so on, and their environments. All right, so continue further. So bacteria also live in symbiotic, which means coexisting together, as well as parasitic, which is symbiotic, but one organism is harmed by the other. Relationships with plants and animals. Most bacteria have not been characterized, and only about 27% of the bacteria phyla have species that can be grown, which is in a microbial culture in the laboratory. So about 27% have species that you can actually just grow in the lab. It's pretty interesting, actually. So why not all of them? Also, bacteria right here, Gemantomonas, this one is Arantica. Let's just see what the pronunciation is here. And let's play.
Gemantomonas Arantica.
Gemantomonas Arantica. All right, we are good to go. Archaea. This is This is about 1 micrometer. I don't know why there's a dash sign, or it might be less than or equal 1 micrometer. So 1/1000th of a meter. These are some types of bacteria. So very, very interesting right there. Archaea constitute the other domain of prokaryotic cells without nucleus, were initially classified as bacteria, receiving the name archaebacteria in the archaebacteria kingdom, a term that has fallen out of use, and that's a domain. Archaeal. Let's see how this is pronounced.
Archaeal cells.
Yeah, archaeal cells have unique properties separating them from from the other two domains, bacteria and eukaryota. So this is very interesting right up here to see why they're different from these. Archaea are further divided into multiple recognized phyla. Archaea and bacteria are generally similar in size and shape, although a few archaea have very different shapes, such as the flat and square cells of this Haloquadratum Walsby. Let's try this pronunciation.
Haloquadratum Walsbii.
Walsbii. So Haloquadratum Walsbii. Interesting. Despite this morphological similarity to bacteria, archaea possess genes and several metabolic pathways that are more closely related to those of eukaryotes, notably for the enzymes involved in transcription and translation. So that's an interesting setup there. So it's almost like it's a somewhat merger of the two bacteria. So it's small, but then it has some of the extra enzymes or similar enzymes as eukaryotes involved in transcription and translation of the genetics the genetic makeup. So it's a bit of a mixture there. Other aspects of archaeal biochemistry are unique, such as their reliance on ether lipids in their cell membranes, including archaeals. Let's see how this is pronounced.
Archaeals.
Yeah, archaeals. All right. And I'm going along with pronunciations of this automated one here. It's pretty decent, I think, at least better than my own pronunciation, and saves me a lot of time from just checking other sources there. So MES note, an ether group contains an oxygen atom connected to two alkyl or aryl groups. They have the general formula R-0-R R dash or apostrophe or whatever, where R and this R dash represent the alkyl or aryl groups. And remember, an alkyl is an alkane missing one hydrogen, and an alkane is an acyclic saturated hydrocarbon, so not a cyclic one. And an aryl is any functional group or substituent derived from an aromatic ring, which is that strengthened ring with delocalized electrons and enhanced stability, and so on. So aryl is any functional group or substituent derived from this. And an alkyl, so this one is an ether group, contains an oxygen atom connected to two alkyl or aryl groups. And the formula is here, where R and R dash represent the alkyl or aryl groups. And going further, so an ether lipid implies an ether bridge between an alkyl group, a lipid, and an unspecified alkyl or aryl group, not necessarily glycerol. Yeah, so I think this ether bridge, basically you're able to connect these two different setups here. So this one here could be connected to another one, and this is a different group right there. So you can either, so you can, between an alkyl group, a lipid, which is pretty much a bunch of smaller non-polymer molecules altogether. Yeah, and then unspecified alkyl or aryl group, not necessarily glycerol. So basically you're able to bridge between these. That's the assumption there. Anyways, going further, so in archaeal, let's see, this is archaeal. Let's see this again.
Archaeal is one.
Yeah, archaeal is one of the main core membrane lipids of Archaea. Yeah, and that's this archaeal right here. So they have these ether lipids, these types of these lipids there. Yeah, and here we quickly just teleport to the earlier definition for lipids. So fat may also be used more broadly as a synonym of a lipid, which is, again, lipid is any substance of biological relevance composed of carbon, hydrogen, or oxygen that is insoluble in water but soluble in non-polar solvents. So pretty much like an oil. Although lipids are defined more generally than fats, thus making fats a subgroup of lipids. Yeah, it's very fascinating. And here, teleported further here, remember, lipids are the only class of macromolecules that are not made up of polymers, and the most biologically important lipids are fats, phospholipids, and steroids. So yeah, so basically here's the fats building block. Unlike other macromolecules, lipids are not defined by chemical structures. Limits are basically any organic nonpolar molecule. So yes, nonpolar is the key, and it's not soluble in polar solvents like water. All right, let's continue further. Here, that's where did we leave off at? All right, and here we're back. So this is the ether lipids. Yeah, we were talking about ether lipids, which set up here. We have the two alkyl or aryl groups combined, connected to an oxygen. And let's continue further. So Archaea use this. Yeah, just computer froze. So Archaea use more energy sources than eukaryotes. Yeah, so they have more energy sources. The key is the more sources, not use more energy, because it's super small. Use more energy sources than eukaryotes. These range from organic compounds such as sugars to ammonia, which is a colorless gas, NH3, or metal ions, or even hydrogen gas. So it even needs metal ions as energy, or even hydrogen gas. Salt-tolerant Archaea, the Haloarchaea, use sunlight as an energy source, and other species of Archaea fix carbon. So basically puts them into other molecules. Yeah, so from the atmosphere. And unlike plants and cyanobacteria, no known species of Archaea does both. Yeah, so that's very interesting. So yeah, bacteria and plants, you'll have some of them that can fix carbon and use sunlight as an energy source, but Archaea can't do both. That's very interesting. So basically why they put the domain separately. It's like a separate, different type of organism. So Archaea reproduce asexually by binary fission, fragmentation, or budding, and unlike bacteria, no known species of Archaea form endospores. All right, interesting. Let's continue further. So, MES note, asexual reproduction is a type of reproduction that does not involve the fusion of gametes or change in the number of chromosomes. The offspring that arise from asexual reproduction from either unicellular or multicellular organisms inherit the full set of genes of their single parent. Asexual reproduction is the primary form of reproduction for single-celled organisms such as Archaea and bacteria. All right, so fragmentation is in multicellular or colonial organisms is a form of asexual reproduction, or cloning, where an organism is split into fragments. Each of these fragments develop into mature, fully grown individuals that are clones of the original organism. Yeah, so organism just splits into two fragments. It's split into fragments, not just two. Each of these fragments develop into mature, fully grown. Budding is a type of asexual reproduction in which a new organism develops from an outgrowth or bud due to cell division at one particular site here. So here is a setup right here. So here is this right here. This is a Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Let's see how this is pronounced. All right.
Saccharomyces cerevisiae.
Yeah, so Saccharomyces cerevisiae, reproducing by budding. Let's just see what this one is. Yeah, just a quick look at it. This is actually a type of fungus, or no, it's a yeast. It's a type of yeast / fungus, and it's a eukaryote right there. Yeah, so this one has a cell nucleus there. Yeah, and here I just quickly added this right here. So it's a yeast, it's a single-celled fungi, or of the fungus kingdom, and it's a eukaryote. Reproducing by budding. So it's a single-celled with a nucleus there. Yeah, it's very interesting. Continue. Yeah, so you can see the budding here. So it's an outgrowth right here. So these outgrowths in which a new organism develops from an outgrowth or bud due to cell division at one particular site. You have cell division here, and they separate, and they release out, and they reproduce like that. And here is some setups of here. It's an illustration of the types of binary fission, budding, and fragmentation. So here, this is from ib.bioninja.com. So you have binary fission. This was splits into two like that, about equally sized. Budding, we have one separates from outgrowth at a particular site. So you might have one smaller than the other one initially, or just have it set up like that. And then fragmentation, you have a fragment of this. So this would cut off here, this would fragment, but now you have two fragments that they both produce. It grows back, and then you have these two like that. So you just need a fragment. You don't need to split the whole thing in half. You can just cut out a piece, and now you're good to go. All right, going further. So a spore is a unit of sexual or asexual reproduction that may be adapted for dispersal and survival, often for extended periods of time in unfavorable conditions. Spores form part of the life cycles of many plants, algae, fungi, and protozoa. Bacterial spores, called endospores, are not part of a sexual cycle, but are resistant structures used for survival under unfavorable conditions. Going back here, so Archaea there's no known species of Archaea form endospores, unlike bacteria. Basically, it's a mechanism to disperse units of a spore is a unit of sexual or asexual reproduction that you could use it basically for extended periods of time and have them dispersed, and then they can be activated later on when favorable conditions are available. So those are the spores, but then bacterial spores, also called endospores, they're not part of a sexual cycle. That's the key part. So not part of a sexual cycle, but instead are resistant structures used for survival under unfavorable conditions. So the Archaea don't have the no known species of Archaea form endospores, so they don't have this in an unfavorable condition. It just forms this spore, and all of a sudden just to survive for a later time. But some bacteria do that. So an endospore or a bacterial spore is a dormant, tough, and non-reproductive. So it's key one, non-reproductive, just to illustrate the difference between a regular spore there. Structure produced by some bacteria in the phylum Firmicutes. Let's see how this is pronounced. All right, let's see this. I'll click this here and press this. Let's see.
Firmicutes.
Yeah, so firmicutes, yes. It is a stripped-down, dormant form to which the bacterium can reduce itself. Endospore formation is usually triggered by a lack of nutrients. Endospores enable bacteria to lie dormant for extended periods, even centuries. There are many reports of spores remaining viable over 10,000 years, and revival of spores millions of years old has been claimed. That's quite remarkable. Dormancy is a period in an organism's life cycle, when growth, development, and in animals physical activity are temporarily stopped. This minimizes metabolic activity and therefore helps an organism to conserve energy. Going further, so protozoa. Yeah, and protozoa, this is also part of, it has spores as part of its life cycles. Here's protozoa right here of many types of protozoa, plants, algae, and fungi. And protozoa here, also called protozoan. Let's see how this is pronounced. Let's see this. Well, let's try this again.
When plural protozoa.
Let's go back here. Let's go here.
Protozoan.
Yeah, so protozoan or protozoa, and then plural protozoans is an informal term for a group of single-celled eukaryotes, either free-living or parasitic, that feed on organic matter such as microorganisms or organic tissues and debris. Yeah, it's basically just an informal term, a single-celled eukaryotes, such as a cell nucleus, and feed on organic matter. So yeah, it's very interesting. Organic matter such as other microorganisms or other microorganisms or organic tissues and debris or waste, etc. And here is a Archaea or halobacteria type of Archaea. So notice how this is. So it looks like bacteria, but it has several different unique characteristics. The first observed Archaea were extremophiles living in extreme environments such as hot springs and salt lakes with no other organisms. Improved molecular detection tools led to the discovery of Archaea in almost every habitat, including soil, oceans, and marshlands. Archaea are particularly numerous in the oceans, and the Archaea in plankton may be one of the most abundant groups of organisms on the planet. So yes. Yeah, these are some small organisms that just happen to live everywhere, even in extreme conditions, in hot springs and salt lakes, etc. So MES note, an extremophile, from Latin extremis, meaning extreme, and Greek philia or phila. See how this is pronounced. Let's see this.
Philia.
Or philia, meaning love, is an organism that is able to live, or in some cases thrive, in extreme environments, i.e. environment that makes survival challenging, such as due to extreme temperature, radiation, salinity, so high salt, or pH level. Yeah, either low or high pH, either very acidic or very basic. Any further? And here what we're going to do is, this is a graphical breakdown of water salinity. So this figure defining freshwater, brackish water, salt water, and brine water, again, based on how much salt is in them. Yeah, so let's just go over here. So here it is, looks like a water bottle, and then it shows the top one has, the most salt in this water there, and then the lowest is over here. So we have here freshwater, ponds, lakes, rivers, streams, and aquifers. And let's zoom in more. Yeah, let's just zoom in. Yeah, so you have freshwater, and this is 0 to 0.5 ppt. This is parts per thousand. And you can see it here. So traditional ways to express salinity is in parts per thousand, or ppt. So how much are molecules of our water, and then how much are the salinity. So 0 to 0.5, molecules of I believe it's molecules of salt per 1,000 total molecules. Yeah, so almost all of them are just water and fresh water. So drinking water is 0.1 ppt. So you need to get very close to 0 for drinking water. And then limit on agriculture, irrigation, or just providing water to and from agriculture. That's 0.5 ppt. Then here's Baltic Sea has 8 ppt. The Black Sea is 18 parts per thousand, so it has very high salt content. And then brackish water. This is estuaries, mangrove swamps, brackish seas, and lake and brackish swamp. This is 0.5 to 30 parts per parts per thousand. So pretty much 0.5 all the way above to even further up here. So average seawater is 34.7 parts per thousand. So just below the seawater, you get this brackish water. So it's in between fresh or not necessarily not fresh. Just at the limit, just after fresh water, and then it's not seawater. So it's not seawater, and it's not fresh water. So that's in between that. And then going further, we have Mediterranean Sea. That's 38 parts per thousand. Then you have the Red Sea, 40 parts per thousand. You have saline water, seawater, salt lakes. That's 30 to 50 parts per thousand. So that's a lot of it. But it's still, again, it's per thousand. So it isn't relatively that much to the water, but relative to drinking water is 0.1. So you barely need salt for drinking water. Going up further, so parts per thousand is 50 plus ppt. Then you got briny water or brine pools, 50, which is 50 plus ppt. So a lot of it. So 50x the drinking water, or more than 50x. That's about 500x, because this is 50 parts per thousand. This is 0.1. Yeah, so then it'll be 500 times more than drinking water. All right, let's just zoom back out. All right, do one more. This should be good. Oh, that's good. Okay, let's go back. So an estuary. Let's see how this is pronounced.
Estuary is...
Yeah, an estuary. I'm calling it estuary here. So that's over here, brackish water estuary. So estuaries, or an estuary, is a partially enclosed coastal body of brackish water with one or more rivers or streams flowing into it and with a free connection to the open sea. So yes, 0.5 to 30 ppt. Yes, very interesting. Now here is an estuary like this. So yeah, it's over here. So this is estuary there. And again, read that again. So partially enclosed coastal body of brackish water with one or more rivers or streams flowing into it and a free connection to the open sea. So this has a free connection to the open sea, and it's at the coast right there. So yeah, it's brackish water over there. It's very interesting. So it's not fully the sea, but it's connected to it. So you get something like that. Just make this a bit smaller. All right, let's just make it smaller to fit in the notes there. So we have this fit in. Okay, that should be good. Now here, a mangrove is a shrub or small tree that grows in coastal, saline, or brackish water. And the mangrove, where it has mangrove swamps over there. Just get some of the terms. So here is a shrub or small tree in coastal, saline, or brackish water. Make this smaller. All right. Going further, mangroves are adapted to saline conditions. Yeah, so they can grow in high saltwater conditions. An aquifer, and this is from, let's see, we got some here. So, so streams, aquifers, you have fresh water. So an aquifer is an underground layer of water-bearing permeable rock, which is porous rock, and rock fractures or unconsolidated materials, gravel, sand, or silt. So underground layer of water bearing. So these permeable rock, then you can contain a bunch of water inside. So it's an aquifer. So here's soil particle size. So here, figure this one is from universityplacecommunitygarden.org, a graphic representation of particle size and surface area. So here's soil particle size. So if you have sand right here, it's 0.05 to 2 millimeters in diameter, and then silt is 0.002 to 0.05 millimeters in diameter. Then clay is less than 0.002 millimeters in diameter. So basically, very small is clay, medium is silt, and sand is over here. And then sand is largest, silt medium, clay smallest. And yeah, what we end up having is water right here. So high permeability, so hot water can go through, and you can get some capture of water there. And then this one here is low permeability, so water does not go through that. So you need permeable rock to allow it to go through. This is a low permeability, so you're going to have water not being able to go through. But if you have this around this, then you can store a bunch of water. So a swamp is a forested wetland. And we got swamps over over here. So swamps in this brackish water. Swamps. And let's see that. A swamp is a forested wetland. And a wetland is a distinct ecosystem that is flooded by water, either permanently or seasonally, where oxygen-free processes prevail. So yes, right here, it's basically flooded with water, and the swamp is a forested wetland. So you have pretty much a forest, and it's covered, and it's flooded by water. So forest flooded by water. Yeah, like that. A freshwater swamp in Florida, United States. And a marsh is a wetland that is dominated by herbaceous rather than woody plants. And a woody plant is a plant that produces wood as its structural tissue and thus has a hard stem. In cold climates, woody plants survive winter or dry season above ground, as opposite to herbaceous. I think that's pronounced. Let's try to see the pronunciation.
Herbaceous.
Yeah, so I got that right. So herbaceous plants that die back to the ground until spring. So yeah, woody plants survive cold and dry seasons, as opposite herbaceous ones die back and the ground until spring. And herbaceous plants are vascular plants that have no persistent woody stems above ground. So it looks like there's a marsh along the edge of a small river, and yeah, a bunch of herbaceous plants there. And yeah, so that's a marsh, is a wetland that is dominated by herbaceous rather than woody plants. So basically, there is very little wood type plants. So these ones die out when it's cold or dry, and then come back in the spring. All right, so going further, so plankton. Yeah, plankton right here, and let's go back where we made a note on it. So right here, archaea are particularly numerous in the oceans, and the archaea in plankton may be one of the most abundant groups of organisms on the planet. So archaea in plankton, yeah, not on, yeah, so on or in. So going here, so plankton are the diverse collection of organisms found in water or air that are unable to propel themselves against a current or wind. The individual organisms constituting plankton are called plankters. In the ocean, they provide a crucial source of food to many small and large aquatic organisms. So yeah, so plankton, yeah, pretty much is a bunch of diverse organisms that that are found in water or air that are unable to propel themselves. And a lot of these in the ocean is archaea. So you have a whole bunch of random stuff there. You got a little crab there. You got some single-celled organisms and so on, and some random fragments there and spirals. So parts of the contents of one dip at of a hand net. So you just dip it in the ocean. You're gonna, in some places, you might get a whole bunch of plankton. There's just a bunch of small immobile particles or organisms. And again, the key word is unable to propel themselves against the current or wind. So they just keep going with them. So those are plankters inside. Each individual one is called plankters, and then overall just called a plankton, collection of organisms. All right, so in the ocean, they provide a crucial source of food to many small and large aquatic organisms. So they go and basically eat all these. So part of the contents of a dip of a hand net. The image contains diverse plankton organisms ranging from photosynthetic cyanobacteria and diatoms, which is a major group of algae, to many different types of zooplankton, which is plankton that can't produce its own food. That's heterotrophic, including both holoplankton, which are permanent residents of the plankton, and meroplankton, which is temporary residents of the plankton, e.g. fish eggs, crab larvae, and wood larvae. Yeah, so fish eggs, they crack and they leave. Yeah, so holoplankton is permanent, and then temporary, these ones here. So you got some possible eggs in there, and get crab larvae and worm larvae inside if you can spot them. It could even be these squiggly worms. It could be them. But yeah, it's very fascinating. And let's continue further. Yeah, so archaea are a major part of Earth's life. They are part of the microbiota of all organisms. In the human microbiome, they are important in the gut or the gastrointestinal tract, mouth, and on the skin. Their morphological, metabolic, and geographical diversity permits them to play multiple ecological roles, including carbon fixation, nitrogen cycling, or organic compound turnover or recycling, and maintaining microbial, symbiotic, and syntrophic communities. Let's try the pronunciation here.
Syntrophic.
Yeah, so syntrophic communities, for example. MES note, microbiota are, quote, ecological communities of commensal, which are coexisting without harming others, symbiotic and pathogenic microorganisms found in and on all multicellular organisms studied to date, from plants to animals. Microbiota include bacteria, archaea, protists. See how this is pronounced?
Protists.
Yeah, so protists, fungi, and viruses. Microbiota have been found to be crucial for immunological, hormonal, and metabolic homeostasis of their host. So yes, so microorganisms have important roles in pretty much all of life. The term microbiome describes either the collective genomes of the microorganisms that reside in an environmental niche or suitable fit, or the microorganisms themselves. Could be, either referring to the genomes or to them themselves, again, depending on the context. I continue further. So the gastrointestinal tract, because number microbiota over here. Yeah, it's over here. So they're important in the gut or the gastrointestinal tract in the human microbiome. So the gastrointestinal tract, which is system/region of related organs, that's a tract, GI tract, GIT, digestive tract. Digestive tract right here. I think I wrote digestive tract twice. Let's just erase this. This one also alimentary, relating to nutrition, canal. Yeah, so alimentary canal. See this?
Alimentary.
Yeah, so alimentary canal, which is relating to nutrition, and the canal is a waterway, or waterway / channel. Yeah, waterway channels. Yeah, or a waterway channel, not channels. This is singular. And let's just make this a bit easier to grasp. All right, tract equals. So this one, the gastrointestinal tract, and tract is a equal system/region of related organs. Or you could have the GI tract, GIT, digestive tract, or alimentary canal. And I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over here. Yeah, so some of the definitions are pretty short. I just want to put them all together here. And then I'll write here alimentary equals relating to nutrition. And then I'll do like this. Canal equals waterway channel. Yes, waterway channel, like that. Yeah, is the tract from the mouth to the anus, which includes all the organs of the digestive system in humans and other animals. Food taken in through the mouth is digested to extract nutrients and absorb energy, and the waste expelled as feces. Basically, yeah, you have this whole tract system / region of related organs that take the food from the mouth that you bring into the mouth, and then the waste goes through the anus. Well, in the middle of it, you have the digestive system converting the food into nutrients and energy, and so on. And here is a diagram of the digestive tract. So upper and lower human gastrointestinal tract right here. So there's these salivary glands, and then there's the types of them. And we have for the saliva. And then you have the oral cavity. There's a tongue, the pharynx, or the pharynx over there, and then it goes all the way down the esophagus for the food. And I think pharynx is it's opening just behind the mouth over there. And then basically goes all the way down here. Esophagus for the food goes down. There's a stomach, the pancreatic duct, the liver, gallbladder, the duodenum, the common bile duct, and then you have the colon over here, which is you have the transverse colon, ascending colon, descending colon over there. Going back to the salivary glands, the parotid, the submandibular one underneath it, or the below the mandible, mandibular gland, and the sublingual gland over there, so underneath there. Anyways, continue further, and let's see what else it says here. This is the ileum, or the small intestine. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyways, you have the cecum or cecum, and then the appendix at the end of this colon there. There's a rectum, just at the straight path going all the way down. There's the anus. So upper and lower human gastrointestinal tract, and this is a general image of that. And the next step is here, this right here, this syntrophy or synthropy. Yes, syntrophy with a H there. or cross-feeding. This is the part over here. Yeah, this right here, let's just read the sentence. So their morphological, metabolic, and geographical diversity permits them to play multiple ecological roles: carbon fixation, nitrogen cycling, organic compound turnover or recycling, and maintaining microbial, symbiotic, and syntrophic communities. Let's see this pronounced.
Syntrophic.
Yeah, so syntrophic communities. So let's go over syntrophic right here. So syntrophy, or also written this way. Let's see if this is pronounced differently.
Synthropy.
Or synthropy, synthropy. That's a TH, but I'm just going to call it syntrophy, or cross-feeding from Greek syn, syn meaning together, and trophy meaning nourishment, or troph. Let's see how this is pronounced.
Trophy.
Yeah, this is English is trophy. Meaning nourishment is the phenomenon of one species living off the metabolic products of another species. Yeah, so that's feeding off of that, or cross-feeding. The nitrogen cycle is the biogeochemical cycle by which nitrogen is converted into multiple chemical forms as it circulates among atmosphere, terrestrial, and marine ecosystems. Terrestrials, land, marines, water. A biogeochemical cycle is the pathway by which a chemical substance cycles, in other words, is turned over or moves through the biotic or living and the abiotic or non-living compartments of Earth. The nitrogen cycle goes in and out and so on, so it circulates around. And here is some examples here. Yeah, so here's global cycling of reactive nitrogen. And so you have reactive nitrogen like this. You have NOx going up. This is biomass burning. Then you have another system here, your fertilizer right there. It's a company, Albert Bosch, I think. I think that's a company. Anyways, fertilizer, you're going to have some nitrogen going into here. And then fixation, you get nitrogen fixation into the soil or the ground. And annual fluxes of natural and anthropogenic reactive nitrogen in the TG. This is, I think, this is TG per year. Let's see what this is. Yeah, here I just Google it. It was TG per year is equal million tons per year. And yeah, this is terrestrial ecosystems like that. You have some other systems, the trees going down, and then you also have this another setup here. So NH3 goes up from the system, and then the trees and so on goes down, and then dendrification, just basically involving a lot of cutting of trees and so on. So now, and then there's atmosphere. Deposition is from atmosphere going down, and then you have from the water going up, H2O and H3 going up, marine ecosystems to ocean, and this is burial all the way to the ground, and then dendrification. Yeah, and here I just quickly paused the video and just went and did some more research here. It's added the term here, so anthropogenic or anthropogenic. Let's see how this is pronounced. I have it right here. Let's see this.
Anthropogenic.
Anthropogenic or anthropogenic, I think it's anthropogenic. So anthropogeny or anthropogeny, let's see this.
Anthropogeny is...
Oh yeah, so anthropogeny is the study of human origins, and anthropogenic is equals to human plus generating. So basically, this is human-generated annual fluxes of natural and human-caused reactive nitrogen. And here, and then this dendrification is actually, I think it's pronounced denitrification. See this pronunciation?
Denitrification.
Yeah, so denitrification is a microbially facilitated process where nitrate or NO3 minus or NO3 minus is reduced and ultimately produces molecular nitrogen, which is N2, through a series of intermediate gases, nitrogen oxide products. So yes, it's yes, basically NO3 dash is reduced. Yeah, it's reduced, and a reduction is a gain of electrons. Yeah, so and the gain of electrons lowers its oxidative state. So yes, very interesting here. Now let's continue further. So NOx, we'll get to reactive nitrogen and so on. So NOx right here is a term right there. NOx. NOx is a generic term for the nitrogen oxides that are most relevant for air pollution, namely nitric oxide, again just nitrogen plus oxygen, NO, and nitrogen dioxide or NO2. These gases contribute to the formation of smog and acid rain. And smog or smog fog is a type of intense air pollution. So yes, you can have reactive nitrogen going up and form basically acid rain and so on. Air smog or smog fog is type of intense air pollution. So here is in China. Let's just make this a bit bigger actually. It's good to illustrate it. Let's keep this bigger. So smog and sunny day within 10-day interval in Fanhei, China. Let's see how this is pronounced. All right. Let's try this again. So Fanhei, China. Let's try this.
In Fanhei.
Yeah, so Fanhei, China. So you can see the smog, and in 10 days it clears up. That's quite fast. So that's not rain. That is smog. And acid rain is rain or any other form of precipitation that is unusually acidic, meaning that it has elevated levels of hydrogen ions, which is meaning low pH. Most water, including the water we drink, has a neutral pH that exists between 6.5 to 8.5 pH. But acid rain has a pH level lower than this and ranges from 4 to 5 on average. The more acidic the rain is, the lower its pH is. Acid rain can have harmful effects on plants, aquatic animals, and infrastructure, and acid rain is caused by emissions of sulfur dioxide, or SO2, and nitrogen oxide, or NOx, which react with the water molecules in the atmosphere to produce acids. Interesting. And reactive nitrogen, or NR, is a term used for a variety of nitrogen compounds that support growth directly or indirectly. And it supports growth. Representative species include the gases nitrogen oxides, NOx, ammonia, NH3, and nitrogen oxide, N2O, as well as the anion nitrate, NO3. Alright, here's quickly pause the video and add more context here. So on this reactive nitrogen. So although required for life, nitrogen is stored in the biosphere in an unreactive, quote, unfixed form, N2, which supports only a few life forms. And recall that nitrogen is inside the DNA and the nitrogenous base, or the nucleobase. Yeah, so hence it's going to be in all life forms. Yeah, so reactive nitrogen is, however, quote, fixed and is readily converted into protein, which supports life, leading to depletion of oxygen in fresh waters by this term. Let's pronounce this one.
Fission.
Whoops, let's go back here and press it.
Eutrophication.
Yeah, so eutrophication. And reactive nitrogen, NR, is removed from the biosphere via denitrification. And remember denitrification, we went over it. Denitrification is a microbially facilitated process where nitrate is reduced, and it's reduced so it gains electrons and reduces its oxidation state, and ultimately produces a molecular nitrogen N2 through a series of intermediate gaseous nitrogen oxide products. Yeah, so when you have reactive nitrogen, eventually then going through denitrification, you'll eventually get this molecular nitrogen N2 as a final product, which is the unfixed form. Anyways, going back here, so eutrophication is the process by which an entire body of water or parts of it becomes progressively enriched with minerals and nutrients, particularly nitrogen and phosphorus. It has also been defined as, quote, nutrient-induced increase in phytoplankton productivity. So basically, yeah, you have an entire body of water that's filled with a bunch of nitrogen and phosphorus and other nutrients and minerals, and then that involves leading to depletion of oxygen in fresh waters by this mechanism. And here's this phytoplankton. I think that's how you pronounce it. Let's try this.
Phytoplankton.
Yeah, so phytoplankton. Yeah, phytoplankton are the autotrophic, self-feeding components of the plankton community and a key part of ocean and freshwater ecosystems. The name comes from the Greek words phyton, meaning plant, and this right here, planktos, meaning wanderer or drifter. And note that an autotroph or primary producer is an organism that produces complex organic compounds such as carbohydrates, fats, and proteins using carbon from simple substances such as carbon dioxide, generally using energy from light, photosynthesis, or inorganic chemical reactions, chemiosynthesis. And we'll go over primary producers and autotrophs later in this video. Alright, here I quickly paused the video and added more notes again, just to illustrate why this eutrophication can cause a depletion of oxygen. in freshwaters. Again, basically, when you have a whole bunch of nutrients, you get a process such as this. So if you have NPK here in this figure, this NPK stands for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and this is commonly labeled on fertilizers. And it's just used to indicate there's a lot of nutrients there for the plant growth, or the growth of whatever organism you are trying to grow. So anyways, I got this from the source here, thespruce.com. So NPK on a fertilizer package stands for nitrogen N, phosphorus P, and potassium K, the three nutrients that compose complete fertilizers. While the description of the fertilizer may not expressly say NPK, you will see a series of three numbers often separated by dashes. These numbers correspond respectively to the percentage of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in that fertilizer. For example, if you purchase a 10-pound bag fertilizer labeled 5-10-5, it contains 5% nitrogen, 10% phosphorus, and 5% potassium by weight. The remaining 80% of the bag's weight is comprised of minor nutrients minor nutrients or fillers. These are the major ones for fertilizers and to support growth and so on. Remember, nitrogen, phosphorus, those are inside the DNA. You have the phosphorus backbone, or the part of the phosphate. You have the phosphate backbone, and then nitrogen is inside the the nitrogenous base, or the nucleobase. Let's continue further. So you have step one: excess nutrients are applied to the soil. So you have a whole bunch of excess nutrients, and that's the whole idea over here. And this eutrophication. So you have a whole bunch of so if you have an entire body of water or parts of it becomes progressively enriched with minerals and nutrients, and particular nitrogen and phosphorus. In this case, also potassium. So you have excess nutrients applied to the soil, so a whole bunch. Some nutrients leach into the soil and later drain into surface water. So that's two drains over here, and some nutrients run off over the ground into so this one, number two, goes in the groundwater or the surface ground. So it leaches into the soil and later drain into surface water in this angle like that. And then some nutrients run off over the ground into the body of water. So it goes over down here. And then the excess nutrients cause an algal bloom. Let's pronounce this.
Algal
bloom. And this right here, so you have this whole this green blob. An algal bloom or algae bloom is a rapid increase or accumulation in the population of algae in freshwater or marine water systems. So you have a whole bunch of nutrients there. These eat up and they start just get taken over. So the algal bloom reduces light penetration, so light can't go through to the bottom. And right here, let's continue further. So the plants beneath the algal bloom die because they cannot get sunlight to perform photosynthesis, and eventually the algal bloom dies. Eventually it will die as well and sinks to the bottom of the lake. And then bacterial communities begin to decompose the remains, using up oxygen for respiration. And there's the depletion right there. So you have bacterial communities using up oxygen. To decompose the remains. The decomposition causes the water to become depleted of oxygen if the body water is not regularly mixed vertically. And then larger life forms such as fish die. So if it's not intermixed vertically and got a whole bunch of other stuff there, you're just gonna die. Then you have the 7 over here, and so 7, this one sinks down. So this sinks down and dies, and then it dies, then sinks to the bottom, and then bacterial communities begin to decompose the remains and using up oxygen, and then use up oxygen. If there's no circulation on top or a vertical mixture, the larger life forms such as fish die, which is pretty fascinating stuff.